Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Happy Easter Monday, I guess it is. The Monday after Easter. We have had a lot of things going on this past week and weekend. It has really been busy with a lot of, let's just say, interesting things. One of the things I was advised of this morning was that we lost our current pope this morning around 7:30. Prayers and blessings for him, his family, and for the Catholic Church, because they have lost their leader. Um, I'll say this, one of the things that I think is going to be kind of interesting. I don't know if anybody saw the movie Conclave. I think it came out last year. It was a really interesting movie. It was about the whole process of selecting a new pope. Um, but the I don't want to say interesting thing is, but we'll get to see how that plays out over, the next few weeks or so when the Catholic Church has to select their next pope. So that's going to be one thing to look forward to. We've seen a lot of things in the news. I saw a story about or an update on the Carmelo Anthony. I think we'll cover that a little later this week. But today I kind of wanted to talk about what's really happening in government. I feel like our government has become a circus, right? It has just kind of gotten out of order, gotten so far away from what we see as government, um, by the different things that we see happen within Congress, within the hearings and all that kind of stuff. I'm sitting here, I'm getting ready to pull up a video for you guys. But um, the things that we've been seeing to me have been highly irregular from what I consider to be appropriate for government. Now, maybe because previously we just didn't see a lot of what happened behind the closed doors. Maybe these things have always happened. But to me, it's how can we look up to people who are supposed to be in leadership when they act all kinds of crazy? And this is, we can say from the left to the right, from the up to the down, the Republicans, Democrats, all of them. I think there's a certain level of decorum that has to be held when you are in that seat of authority. And I think that's why other people also feel like it's just okay to do and say any and everything that comes to their mind, from the top of our government all the way down to the bottom. So, today I kind of wanted to talk about something that came up over the past few days. And again, I don't want anybody to take this as, dislike from one side to the other, but we're just going to talk about what we see. And so for this particular story, this is a Marjorie Taylor Greene story, and we've seen things that have come up with her in the past, just inappropriate things that she has talked about and said within the Senate, the congressional chambers, on the committees. And I'm like, Mm, I don't really get it. I don't get how she's able to just do the things that she does um, without any type of consequence. So I want to go to the video and let you take a look at what the latest is from MTG. Child, it takes me a minute to get this thing together. I'll get it one of these days. I'll get it one of these days.
Has millions of followers on social media, says that he's going to declare DEFCON 3 on the Jews. Do you think that increases threats to Jewish Americans or decreases threats?
Words like that increase the threat to minority groups, Congressman.
And that's why it surprises me that the chairman of the Judiciary Committee tweeted out, Kanye, Elon Trump. Well, we know what Trump thinks about law enforcement and what is happening in law enforcement right now with targets on their back. But this tweet was kept up for months after Kanye West said that he was going to declare DEFCON 3 on the Jews. Mr. Secretary, do you believe that all of us have a responsibility to elevate our rhetoric and to denounce anti-Semitism and anti-police rhetoric in this country so that Jewish Americans and police officers can be safer?
Congressman, I do.
Thank you, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields, and now I recognize the gentlelady from Georgia, Ms. Green.
That was quite entertaining from someone that had a sexual relationship with a Chinese spy, and everyone knows it. But
I
thanks
move
for
to take our
entertaining
words
us.
down. Completely inappropriate.
Yeah, stand by just a second while we research the rule. Give me just a second.
I need to make sure I have my full 5 minutes.
So I'm just not sure, when did that ever become appropriate? So, like I said, I'm not sure when it ever really became acceptable to talk like that. I think it makes it very difficult for our young people who watch the hearings and things to have something great to aspire to. You know, where is the separation? First of all, I don't think that that's appropriate talk for anybody to release, personal business, whether he did or didn't, I don't know. Apparently, he said he did not later on in the hearing. But when did it become appropriate to announce things like that and then to think that it was a joke? But what I did later, as watching the video, I commended the ranking member. The ranking member challenged her every step of the way. First, so they took a vote again and ultimately had her stopped. Her time was taken away, and she was not able to continue on with her speech that she was making. Now, the video does say that she was ejected from the committee. I don't know that she was necessarily put out of the chamber. I think what they did was just stopped her time and not allowed her to continue on with the rest of her speech. But I thought that this was a great first step to correcting the mistake that she has been allowed to just kind of say and do anything that she wanted. If we want to go back and kind of remember the whole exchange that she had with Jasmine Crockett, where she said, "Oh, I think your fake eyelashes got in the way." And then Jasmine Crockett responded with bleach blonde, bad built, butch body. And, it was a whole big thing. And, people went after Jasmine, was like, how dare you say that, and all that kind of stuff. But when was it ever appropriate to say to somebody, your fake eyelashes, because it starts there. And then next thing we'll be talking about, oh, your fake hair, oh, your fake body. We have to remember that things always progress. And I thought it was really important that they stopped Marjorie on this particular instance, which may make her think twice before she chooses to do that again. Maybe not in a whole nother committee, but at least within this particular committee, she won't be able to, or she'll think twice about making those types of comments, knowing that the people are not going to stand for it. Now, on the other side, yes, we know there have been several occasions where, let's say again, Jasmine Crockett has made comment about people. Like, she made a comment about Governor Greg Abbott. In her speech, she called him Governor Hot Wheels. Now, at the time, I was like, oh, that was, really inappropriate. And I think it was. I think that it was pushing the envelope. I would not necessarily say that that is something that I would want to hear, especially from someone like her, who I believe is really targeted right now, even though we haven't seen a lot. But I think she is a targeted individual. And I think that, not that she has to be afraid, but she has to walk a fine line, because there are several people, who don't like her. And because she's very outspoken and we need her to stay in that kind of space, that she has to keep a certain level of decorum herself. So now I later heard that Governor Hot Wheels is a name that he's known for. I don't know how true that is, so we'll just say that part is alleged. However, I would just say, we have to be mindful of the things that we say, especially when we are in seats of leadership, because the words that we use also give other people permission to use and do certain things. We can take it back to the January 6th event, where we said we had a person seated in power who perpetuated a lot of what we saw by their words. They did nothing to outright denounce the storming of the Capitol. They did nothing to kind of stop it as it was starting. They kind of fueled the fire. And so we know that words have an effect on people, and that turned out to be an utter mess. So I think from the top of government all the way to the bottom, from the top of, us as just people in general, we have to be careful of the things that we say, because our words do have power. And we want to make sure that when we're in leadership, we use the correct words or use appropriate wording, so that the people who follow behind us will follow suit, and it will kind of set the bar for them. In the things that they do. So again, I feel like in a lot of ways, this is just one instance, where our government is seeming a little bit like a circus. We've seen countless things. All you have to do is turn on the news and you'll see something. There are plenty of stories that have come up in the recent week that are similar to this, in the instance where you watch it and you say, is this really our government? But the question that I have is, what do the people in other countries think about the things that they see? Because our stuff is not just contained to the United States. The stuff that we have going on here is broadcasted across the world. And so I can guess what people think, but I would be interested to know what people think about the things that they're seeing and what their impression is of our country at this moment. A lot of people revered the United States at one point, and I kind of feel like that has decreased based on some of the things that people have seen just over the past few weeks. So, what I would like for you to do is kind of leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like I said, there are a couple of things that I would like to talk about later in this week that I find them pretty interesting. And, like we say, the show is called I'm Just Saying. So these are things that I have to say, but I welcome to hear your comments. Let me know what you're thinking, and I will talk to you soon and see you on the next segment of I'm Just Saying with Dr. B. Thanks so much.